of that.
That's right, yeah. York legend Tim Spears will retire from rugby league at the end of the season. The 37-year-old forward has made more than 400 career appearances for Castleford, Dewsbury, Batley, Featherstone and York.
Yeah. Anything to add on that one, Mark?
I'm trying to think of any strong memories I have of Tim Spears, but I don't even... Did he ever play in Super League?
Oh, no, that's probably one that I can't answer, but I'll have a quick look while we're moving on.
Well, I'll tell you what, then I'll do someone who's staying at York then after we've done someone who's leaving York. So York fullback Matty Marsh has signed a new 2-year deal with the club. The 26-year-old first appeared for the Knights back in 2018 on dual red from Hull KR before signing permanent terms with the Championship club. Marsh has made 58 appearances for the club to date, scoring 39 tries. He was named York's Player of the Year back in 2019.
And the answer to the question is yes, he has 3 for Cass in 2003 from the bench.
And he scored a try in 7.7 seconds, apparently.
Did he?
Which is not bad going for a forward, is it?
When did he do that?
In January 2014, Spears lay claim to the fastest ever rugby league try when it took just 7.7 seconds to score from the kickoff in a trial game against Wakefield.
It doesn't count if it's a trial game. It
doesn't count.
Doesn't count. I was going to say that was the only try he scored that season if he did, but yeah, no, not a first class match. He's not having that one. Scratch that one off. So three sub appearances in Super League is record.
That'll be why I don't have much to say about Tim Spears. But long career in it, 400 games is a lot, and especially in the forwards, battering your body every week.
Yeah, rather than me. I've lost the thread now. Sheffield prop Scott Wielden.
Yeah,
will hang up his boots at the end of this season. The 35-year-old front rower has made, I guess that is, more than 300 career appearances for Hull FC, Hull KR, London Broncos, Castleford, Featherstone and Sheffield. Wielden was part of the Castleford side that played in the Challenge Cup final at Wembley in 2014.
Yep. And Sheffield have announced that 10 players will leave the club at the end of the season as well, on top of Scott Wielden. Ryan Miller, James Glover, Aaron Brown, Oliver Davies, Brad Knowles, Frankie Mariano, Bobby Tyson-Wilson, Max Clark, Robbie Ward and Chris Ball will depart the Eagles at the end of the season. So big changes at Sheffield, it seems like. Yeah, I do remember Wielden. I remember Wielden I didn't realise he was in that cast side that went to the Challenge Cup final back in 2014, but I do remember him from his time at Cast, and I remember him playing for Hull FC as well. Kind of a big, uncompromising kind of forward.
Yeah. I mean, you see these big turnovers of players at some of these teams, I think, in the Championship especially, and Sheffield haven't had the greatest of seasons, have they? And I'm sure they'll be wanting to get some new blood in. They'll be wanting to avoid getting involved in any scraps relegation-wise, depending on what changes might be coming further down the track. So I'm sure they've got one eye towards that.
Yeah, that's for certain, yeah. Four England teams will play 5 fixtures this autumn in preparation for next year's rearranged Rugby League World Cup. England's men's and women's kick things off with a double-header against France in Perpignan on the 23rd of October. England's wheelchair team hosts France in a 2-test series in Gillingham on the 10th and 13th of November. And England Knights the feeder team for the main squad face Jamaica on the 15th of October at Castleford Tigers Jungle. That's the Jordan Turner testimonial game. That's why it's being played at Castleford. There's also been fixtures announced, haven't there, for Scotland, who going to play Jamaica. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, I think that's right.
And a few other matches as well knocking around Europe this autumn/winter. So that's it's good to see international rugby league still being played despite the World Cup not being.
Yeah, I I was conflicted in a few ways with this announcement, if I'm honest as well. The way the announcement was done frustrated me a little bit. There's too much, maybe it's just my little brain not being able to cope with things. There's too much information in that one announcement that means that from a marketing point of view, an advertising point of view, I almost got read it when I saw it the first time and then couldn't remember what the headline was of it. By the time I got to the end of it, with too many different formats and teams and dates and venues and all of that contained within one little announcement. But I mean, it's great that they're looking at giving the whole range of teams matches. It feels like a bit of a missed opportunity for me. You know, the men's team have got a break now and an opportunity to get some squad time together, and they play one game against France. Is that it? Are we done now announcing international fixtures and they're going to play one game, you know, several weeks after some players have finished playing, and that's the lot? It feels like we could have done more with October and the beginning of November to play with. That's
the part of it I was thinking was a bit like short on the turnaround. It's only going to be 2 weeks after the grand final, so assuming like you normally would that the teams in the grand final are going to be teams that have a lot of players contributed towards the international side, and B going to want a bit of a break after that grand final match. You'd think that you might have given it another week. You could have had a longer training camp into it, so then you would get that solid block of a couple of weeks with your whole squad together before you had the fixture. And like you say, maybe even think about having more than one fixture. It might not be it. That might not be all she wrote on those international fixtures. Let's hope that's the case.
No, I mean, I think it's great that it's in France. I'm going to name drop here, but I was speaking to French coach Laurent Fresinu last week on the day that they announced this. I know he's happy that they're playing the game. And he's, if I speak to him there, you know, he's really keen to get that group of players together to really instill something in the mentality of the squad that he's got, talking about the history and the heritage of that team and the kind of legacy of French Rugby League. And they're looking towards 2025 World Cup as well as the one next year, and hopefully they'll be hosting that, is their intention. So it's good news for France, I think, and gives them an opportunity to play England when they've probably shied away from playing France based on recent performance and recent results. But I think the performances of Catalan and Toulouse this year, the opportunity that this gives, and the fact that there's probably not a lot else that England could do, has probably played into the French hands as much as anything. I really hope they give a good showing and take the opportunity that they've got. You know, I think it'd be great if we see them being really competitive in this match. And
you don't quite want to go so far as to say you see them win, but see them be competitive. Yeah. I'll give you the honour of the and finally.
Yeah, and finally, Catalan Dragon centre Sami Soni has apologised to Wakefield Trinity after going back on a deal to join the club from the start of 2022. The 28-year-old says his, quote, heart was not in the move, end quote, with compensation agreed between the two parties. I wouldn't have been able to give my all for the red, white and blue. I'm a player who wears my heart on my sleeve and I wasn't able to be 100% committed, he said in a statement. Trinity Chief Executive Michael Carter added, it became obvious as time went on that Sami Soni's heart had changed and that bringing him across would not be beneficial at this time. And Tom Andrews came in on this one saying, seemingly handled pretty well in what is probably a more common than reported occurrence. Better than a player/club wasting a year or so on good, not on good terms.
Yeah, this only came into the rundown because Tom left a news view on it because I wasn't really going to talk about it. But what he says there, I think it kind of resonated with me a bit. That probably is more common than it gets reported, and certainly there's probably a lot of times where clubs seem like they might have secured a deal with a player, and everyone is always kind of, why has it not been announced yet? Why has it not been announced yet? Kind of thing on the message boards and stuff. But how many times have sources of people been certain that so-and-so is signed for such a club and then it's not happened? So I guess maybe this is just a more public example of how that can sometimes go around, and everyone's kind of been honest about it and everyone seems to be happy with the outcome, which is nice. Don't get that a lot either, do we, in this modern world?
No, I'm not as convinced that often. I think there's more dodgy sources being quoted. That's probably the real reason why those certainties don't sometimes happen.
So that is the news. Thanks, everyone, for getting their fan views in on the Google form. Apologies for a couple of breaking up in the sound during all of that. I think it's going to continue, but we'll see how we get on. Shout out to BBC Sport Rugby League page, totalrl.com and loverugbyleague.com, of course, as always, for providing the news stories that we just comment on. They're the guys out there doing the reporting, so please go and give them plenty of clicks so that they know you're out there. Okay, that's great. That's the news. We're now going to move into match reviews. And do you know what? I'm not going to make any apologies when we do that. We're only really going to talk about 2 games because there's only really 2 games to talk about. So it's match reviews time. Okay, Neil, it was round 25 of Super League, the final round of the season. A number, though, that only one team managed to meet in terms of that 25. Not one of the teams involved in the 2 significant matches, and we start, as we always do, on Thursday night, and it's your team that we're going to talk about first. They travelled to Castleford in a game that was win and in for Castleford, so kind of a playoff before the playoffs for them. But only 5,126 turned up to watch Liam Moore referee a match that finished 40 points to 24 for Warrington. But realistically, although there was a little bit of a comeback, it was 26-0 at halftime. It was all she wrote at that stage, you would think. In terms of the team stats would suggest Cass might have edged this game, but for errors and penalties. They made 3 more of each of those for the Tigers. Otherwise, they edged very close meter stats and had an extra break, as well as considerably better team tackle success rate. Individually, Cass bound Jake Mamo had 2 tries, 1 try assist, 195 metres. Matty Ashton, 3 tries and 121 metres. Chris Hill with a try assist and 118 metres. And Rob Mulhern, in a somewhat precursor to what might be the replacing Chris Hill role next year, had 1 try assist and 118 metres. For Cass, Dan Smith had 158 metres. Jesse Senni-Lefeo on his farewell appearance had 128 metres. Liam Watts, 124 metres. And Jordan Turner, 1 try and 115 metres. Something that I'm sure that will come up as we get through the fan views is what came out of what led to the disciplinary outcome from this match of Mike Cooper getting charged with a grade B high tackle, picking up a 1-match penalty notice, which means unless there's an appeal that is successful, he will miss the first round of the playoffs next week. But we've got loads of fan views on this game to get to. So do you want to bring us the first one of those, Neil?
Yes. So Carson said, I nearly switched off at half-time, but that second half was good. The red card is questionable, and it was sad to see Michael Shenton go out this way. Thoughts and prayers are with Fatboy Rob and Operation Piss the League.
Yeah, I think it's more like Operation Piss Their Pants, isn't it, at this stage? Pop the Viking, a game of 2 halves. Wire unstoppable in the first half and looked like it would continue in the second half. But then Cass woke up and decided that the comeback was on. Too little, too late, unfortunately. Thought the ref got the 2 cards correct. And Paul, I'm not sure if you're aware, former referee, so we take his views on those with more than the pinch of salt that we take some other people's.
Yeah, because referees never make mistakes.
Well,
I'm not saying they did in this instance. We'll come on to it in a moment, no doubt.
You're right. Rob Hicks made a terrible mistake in the Wigan-Warrington game, didn't he? Yeah.
Not as bad as was it Hicks that made the one in our favour at Leeds when Charlie clearly didn't score? Anyway.
I can't remember. Yes, he did. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? It was the week after. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, we expect it always comes back around over the course of the season, doesn't it? So we'll see how we get on in